Hi guys, and welcome to this week's video. I've set myself a bit of a challenge. I'm going to try and photograph something that I've fancied photographing for a long time, but I haven't managed to do it yet. And there's a very good reason for that, is because this is going to be a monumental challenge, one that I'm not 100% sure that I can complete. But I'm on the causeway between the mainland and Lindisfarne, Holy Island, and there are structures out on the Pilgrims Way that I've always fancied photographing, only because they're kind of quirky and kind of cool. But I think the only way I could probably do them justice is to photograph them when the tide is in. This is Lindisfarne, which is also called Holy Island. It's a tidal island off the northeast coast of England. The island is accessible during low tide via a causeway. It's also accessible on foot by an interesting route called the Pilgrims Way. During high tide, both routes become inaccessible for around 3 hours or so. Despite the many warnings, some people risk the crossing, which doesn't often turn out favourable. Because of this, there are a few refuge constructions which are in place just in case. The odd-looking structure located in the middle of Pilgrims Way is the one I'm interested in photographing, and as you'll see in the video, it does look quite quirky. Now, this is where the dangerous or daft element comes in. Me being me, I want to photograph it in my fine art style. The thing is, I require the tide to be in. This is the location of the tidal refuge, and I've calculated the best way for me to reach it is by parking the van here and navigating a path to the construction. Despite how it might look in the video, it's actually very scary walking out on boggy marshland. Sometimes the grass and mud is a little too soft for comfort. Right. That's a great start, isn't it? I've come to a dead end and I'm cornered, so I'm either going to have to commit or go back. But I can see somebody has already committed there. I'm not sure how that's turned out for him. Okay. Alright, so that's... Ooh. So that's not too bad. But remember, the tide when it comes in and around here. So the last thing I want is to get stuck and have to be rescued like a bird. I do not want that to happen. Tide coming in, and my structure is out there. I can't even see it on the back of this camera. Right. This might well possibly be a massive no-no. There's always something very weird when you walk on ground you're not 100% sure of. I don't know if it's going to be quick sinking sand, quick sinking mud, or what. Right, so let's commit. Oh shit. Now some of you guys might well be asking why aren't I just walking across the Pilgrims Way, and the reason why I'm not doing that is because I need an exit plan. As the tide comes in, if you know the area well, that you know that the Pilgrims Way, which is a walk from the island to the mainland, it runs pretty much parallel. So when the tide comes up to where I'm going to be standing, it's going to be all the way along. So it's not possible to go that way. Oh look, can you see that structure in the background? That's what I'm here to photograph. Oh, that's pretty cool. Have a look at this. That's really cool. That is just so cool, look at that. Oh, these conditions are great in terms of no wind. Really nice. Oh, there's the van, by the way. You see that white dot on the horizon? That's the van. So when this gets covered with water, I have to retreat all that way. That is so nice. Right, so ideally, because I want to create a fine art image here, I need to try and avoid as much of that horizon in the background as possible. I can hear seals off into the distance. Now ideally, I want to be shooting out here, like so, to place this structure here in the gap of the mainland and the island. I like that, that's nice. Now when it comes to this structure, where I'm currently standing, you could see that the ladder doesn't quite line up. If I came across here, that back stanchion is hidden by that ladder. Can you see that? If I move over here, look at the stanchion behind the ladder. You can see that stanchion starts to come out, but I've now introduced more land in the background. I'm probably going to remove the land to create one of my fine art images, but yeah, I want to try and make life as easy as possible for me. I'm not sure if this mic can pick up the sound of the seals out on the water's edge. It's quite eerie. I'm a little bit nervous and apprehensive about this and excited at the same time. Very excited at the same time, but let's have a quick look at this so you guys can see roughly what I'm looking at. I'm looking at something like that, really minimalistic. Forget the reflection on the bottom here, forget that, because I'm going to wait for the water to come in and around, but I'm probably looking to take an image like that with a long exposure to flatten that water out, hopefully get a nice reflection and get a bit of movement in those clouds. I'm going to have to expose for the sky. I've dropped a 0.9 soft grad filter on the front of the lens to bring the light down in the sky to balance out with the floor anyway. But this is going to be a silhouetted image. So because it's fine art and because it's silhouetted, I'm going to have to make sure that I get everything right in this image, everything. But these conditions at the moment are so conducive to my style of fine art, whereby I remove the horizon, etc. This is really nice. So at the moment my settings are f22, an eighth of a second at ISO 50. So I'm going balls out at the moment to try and achieve a 2-minute exposure, and I know with those settings I can achieve a 2-minute exposure when I drop my 10-stop filter in. I've got a polarizer on and a 0.9 soft grad as well. I know I can achieve a 2-minute exposure, but the only slight issue with that, I don't mind maximizing my settings. That doesn't bother me when I shoot fine art, it really doesn't. I think the gains far outweigh the negativities or the negative elements, i.e. shooting with your aperture really closed up and so on. I'm not really bothered about that. But the clouds are really high and they're not moving. So I want to try and opt for a 4-minute exposure. So to do that, I'm going, I think, to choose to use my 15 stop filter. Okay, so my 15 stop filter for 4 minutes, it means my target figure is 125th of a second. So if I shoot this at 125th of a second, it means I can open my aperture up to f8 and I can shoot this at ISO 100, maybe 7.1. There you go. So 7.1, ISO 100 at 125th of a second. I'm comfortable with that. Pre-focus, I'm ready and raring to go. I've dropped my 15 stop filter on, and that now will equate to 4 minutes. I'm going to grab a shot to see what those clouds look like. Again, the problem I have is there's not much detail in the cloud, so I might even be wasting my time, and this is why it's always good practice to arrive nice and early and take a few test shots. Just bear with me a second. I'm just going to set my bulb timer to 4 minutes. 2-second delay and away she goes. So this is the resulting image captured at a 4-minute exposure. Now what I'm really looking at here is the sky, the movement in the sky. Whether it's a 4-minute exposure or even a 30-second exposure, it won't really make much difference to the water. So the reason for this test shot is just really to look at how much movement there is in the sky. Now the only problem I have now is if I opt to shoot the images at a 4-minute exposure, it will restrict the amount of images that I might possibly end up taking if the tide comes in quite fast. So potentially I could just have enough time for 1, maybe 2 shots, and that is what I'm not comfortable with. I've just decided to stop that time lapse a second because I want to show you this. Now it's a low high tide, one of the lowest of the year, and I'm beginning to think that the water might not actually come all the way up to where I am. This could be a massive anticlimax, but then walking down towards the water's edge, and I'll show you this in real time. This isn't sped up, this is real time. Look at this, how scary is that? Look, watch, if I hold that still, that's real time. And to prove it, look, how weird's that? That's real time. That is genuinely real time. Wow. I'm having to move back. Look at that. Isn't that just crazy? Do you know what? I might have timed this so well or so lucky, because there's 20 minutes of high tide left, that is all. So if the tide doesn't come up here, it means I could play around on this area here and get more compositions. Because I must admit, I don't know why, but that is exciting me. That looks pretty cool. Before you've even seen this picture, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, yeah, feel free to leave a comment down below. Oh, look at that there now. Wow, I love that, love it. I've had a change of tact. A 4-minute exposure isn't giving me any streaking in the clouds whatsoever. The sky has just turned into that black bland, or that dark bland blanket of sky without any detail at all, which is a real shame. So I'm not benefiting by photographing this at a 4-minute exposure. So I've changed my settings to take this, or to capture this image now at 2 minutes with my 10 stop filter. 2 minutes is enough just to flatten the water out and give me a little bit of movement if there is any at all in the sky, but at least then I have the ability to capture more pictures. Thinking on the fly, but I do like this, I do like this. quite literally only 15 minutes of tide height left, so I could stay here and enjoy grabbing more shots from here, because this has worked out perfect. It's one of the lowest tides of the year this year, so I think that's why it favours me, but honestly I didn't plan that. I knew it was one of the lowest tides of the year, but I've never been out here during the high tide, so I didn't know how that would affect where I'm currently taking pictures from. So that's why I was a bit nervous, very apprehensive, but now I know. Cool, I'm loving it. This has worked out now perfect for me, just perfect. And this image looks delightful. By the time I've cleaned that image up and converted that into my style of fine art photography, that will be really, really nice. But now it means I can throw my other lens on, get a bit closer and take some wider shots as well. But yeah, before I carry on, take a look at that image, and like I say, let me know what you think about this image in the comments below. Now this is going to be a fine art image, which means I'm going to remove the horizon in at least one of these shots and blend the horizon. Now what I never do, I never self-publish, I don't publicize the work that I do offline enough, but if you do like this style of photography and you're interested how I clean this image up, more importantly how I blend the horizon, then I do have tutorials on that. Just check the description down below and I'll leave you a couple of links. It is a paid for subscription, but I charge £6.99, so it's not even the price nowadays of a couple of bottles of Bud. So if you do want to check that out and support me and my channel, then like I say, I'll leave a link down below. That is it, that's me done here. I'm so lucky that the tide height worked out in my favour and I didn't have to go scurrying back to the van. But just so you know, this is one of the lowest high tides of the year. Again, I'd like to take credit for me planning this, but I didn't. I knew it was the lowest high tide of the year, but I didn't actually know where the tide would end up. So I got really lucky tonight, really, really lucky. But ordinarily on a normal high tide, all of this is covered in water, and that's why I was a little bit nervous and very apprehensive at the beginning of this video. But either way, I am so glad that I saw this video out, because I've been everywhere taking pictures from all sorts of different angles. So before I show you my favorites, do me a favor, as always, help support the channel. Please give this video a thumbs up, and if you're new here and you want to check out some of my other gear, then please consider subscribing and hit that notification bell as well. I hope you like the pictures. Let me know in the comments below.